Yo guys, it's Python, welcome back to some more Haikyu Fly High. Today we are on JP because we're gonna take a look at the Libero situation. We're gonna compare Nishinoya to the new on global Libero Komori, and we're gonna see who is more used. I've actually looked at the entire 100 top 100 players on JP, but I backed out and now it kind of reset the rankings. But when I looked at it for the first time, it was very equal, the number of players overall in the top 100. But the top players, in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, but by looking at the top players, the top 10-20 players, they prefer Nishinoya. But overall on the whole top 100, when I went through it last time before I refreshed it, it was 44 players that were using Komori and 40 that were using SP Nishinoya. The rest were using SSRs, and it was the most used SSR was SSR Nishinoya, funny enough, followed by Yaku. So yeah, a lot more players using a high rarity Libero, as you'd imagine, right? Obviously. So we're gonna take a look at some of the team variations. First of all, I'm actually gonna pull up the team builder. We're gonna go through the players really quickly, okay? So we're gonna go through Komori first. So Komori is they're both different Liberos, right? They both do different things. Komori is a very good receiver that really buffs your team a lot. Nishinoya is a self-centered player. He doesn't really buff your team, but he is a much better receiver. He does buff himself quite a bit. Let's start off with Komori. First things first is we're just gonna go through this really quickly. He buffs all the teammates in the back row from his first passive, and he also buffs himself, increasing his set and reflex for each stack of connect to next, which he can remove from himself to buff the team on his second passive, which increases his receive, and he can remove 2 of his stacks that buff himself whenever he activates a special receive move, or when an ally activates a non-special receive move. He can use 2 of those stacks to increase the next receive, to increase that receive by 30%, and to increase the next power attack or quick attack by 20%, which is quite a big increase. He also does buff whenever he sets. He increases team morale by 10, which is great, and he also increases the awareness of the spike when he sets by 15%. Which is really good. And when it comes to his ult is at 260%, of course, and he also increases the attack technique of the spiker, the spikes next after this ult, by 20%. So it's really good. Lots of buffing. Every single one of his stats, of his skills, whether it's a passive or an active skill, does buff his teammates a lot. So a very good team player, but only buffs himself on the first passive, I believe, unless I'm missing something, with the connect the next, which does obviously go away the more that the other passive gets used. Whereas Nishinoya doesn't really buff your teammates all that at without any dupes. So he does buff himself big time though. He increases his reflex and receive in his first passive, and whenever an opposing player makes a critical play, he increases his reflex even more by 2%, up to 10 times. His second passive increases his spirit by 20%, and when a teammate makes a critical play, the cooldown of his ultimate is reduced by 2 neck crossings, which is massive, by the way, because again, unlike Komori helps your team, helps everybody out. He helps himself, and he takes advantage. So in the right team, he can just keep spamming that ult, which is amazing. And then from if in the same rally he does use the same special move, his mental, is it called mental? I think it's called something else, but it's his critical defensive strength, I believe, is increased by 60%, and it stacks up to twice, which is really good. When it comes to his toss, it's actually different for Komori. So Komori's buffs the person that spikes. Nishinoya buffs himself. He increases awareness by his reflex, and he reduces the cooldown of the toss skill for your teammates, which is the only kind of buff that we've seen so far from him, and it's actually really good in certain teams because, well, I'll get to explaining that in a moment. And then the last one is a receive at 260% of power, and he increases his receive and reflex by 20%. So he just keeps buffing himself. Komori helps the whole team. Nishinoya just helps himself and wants to get involved by reducing his cooldown for every crit that that your team does, which is really good in certain teams that crit a lot. So looking at them both, first of all, you know, a lot of people ask about like character tier lists and stuff, and I don't really believe in that, because in this game especially, because I feel like it's all about the team, and you know, knowing what characters are coming next, it's quite easy for us global players to see the whole picture and see what characters we actually want to get, and what team we want to build, not just characters individually. So I think it's difficult to say that, but if we have to look at it in that perspective, like just one-on-one, I think Komori is the safer option. I think he is, you know, he's definitely the much bigger option, the much better option when it comes to the club, the club event, right? Getting the damage, getting the points. Definitely, you just want buffs and buffs and buffs for that. So he's definitely better when it comes to, in that regard. However, I think in certain teams, in my opinion, especially as I said, as we can look at, and in late game, a lot of characters work together extremely well, right? They're just made for each other, event characters, right? The school festival trio, or I don't know, the new twins that are gonna come out, waiting for All Somewhere. We're gonna talk about that again. It feels like they're just made for each other, and it's like, yes, more buffs help, but if you get them together, they're just gonna help each other regardless. They just work well together regardless. So, you know, it's sometimes better just to have a specialist libero that's just there, and it's just gonna be the best at receiving. It's just gonna receive, right? So I do have to say Komori is the better option overall, and you can't really go wrong by picking Komori. But I do think that in certain teams, Nishinoya can really shine. You know, in teams that don't really need as much help. But again, we're gonna take a look at some team, mostly for Nishinoya, but I do have to say, overall, I will say Komori is probably the slightly better choice. Again, the most important thing is go for your favorite. I love Nishinoya, so I like him more, right? So I would rate him a bit higher from that point of view. But again, go for whoever you want as your favorite. That's the most important thing. But that aside, first of all, I wanted to take a look at the school festival trio, because both maybe I'll pull up a couple of teams here to show you in the top 100. I wanted to show you the number 5. Is it this one? So there we go. This one. It uses the school festival trio with Bokto to complete the power attack team. Kura and Tsukishima, which if you've been watching for a while, you know I just go on and on about them, how good they are. And then Nishinoya. So he's not using Komori, he's going for Nishinoya. But if you look at this one, I believe, yes, this one is using Komori and Sakusa alongside the school festival trio, and then he's got Kenma and Kura, because that means he can switch to receive straight away whenever he feels like it. But again, you can probably go for Kura and Tsukishima. I think that would be a bit better, in my opinion anyways, but yeah, that allows you to play receive as well. So again, it's just completely different. It's the same thing, and it works well for both of them. And I'm gonna pull this up once again. Now, this is the thing, right? The more that you crit with this, because Ushijima just wants to crit, but if you're gonna get SP Ushijima, right? Komori, if I remember correctly, right? Komori from the toss, he does increase awareness, which helps Ushijima a lot. But if you're gonna get SP Ushijima, you're most likely gonna get his memory, which helps him out a lot. You're most likely gonna get Oikawa, which helps him out even more. Same with Iwaizumi, right? With the bond between them three, or just the skill with Oikawa, putting Ushijima opposite of him. Like, it's just made together, right? That's the whole point. It's not even hidden. It's not even a secret. They're just made together. So you could go and buff it even more for Komori, but in my opinion, just throw Nishinoya in there. He works really well with the receives, with the critical play, which debuffs his receive ult, and you can just use his ult over and over again, which is just really nice. And you can go for Tendo here as well, right? You get even more buffs for Ushijima. Tendo can create himself all he wants, and it's just all good. But on the other hand, of course, if you go for Komori here, you can use Sakusa and you get the power attack bonus straight away. Here you can go with Tendo and somebody else. You can go for Tsukishima and Kuro. It's just a simpler way of going about it. They're just good all-around players, especially Komori, right? It just helps your team. I think this is a bit more fun, right? And I think in this situation maybe a little bit better, but again, overall Komori is better, but I think in certain situations Nishinoya works better in certain teams. And I think that getting the Karasuno school bonus here, and not just the school bonus but the bonds between the players, is really good, like really good. So and this is just set up for a quick attack with Kageyama, Hinata, and Tsukishima having the quick attack playstyle. All you need is one more, but you can go overboard. And I think this team in particular, with the upcoming Osamu and with Atsumu and Tendo, this can be a really good quick attack team, like full on quick attack team, 25% bonus. I personally want to I'm gonna make a video about this when the twins come out, if it looks like they work well together, which in my opinion this feels like it will work well, really well, because of course Nishinoya with his own toss, he reduces the cooldown of the set skill for Kageyama and Atsumu, and of course for the critical plays that you do, which with Atsumu hopefully you can guarantee that with certain players you can reduce Nishinoya's cooldown as well. So I feel like Nishinoya can play a big part in that, not just being a there just for the school bonus, but also his bond with Kageyama is really good, because he does buff a player. He can buff by 20% of the attack if the receive, I believe, is an ultimate, is a critical play. So that's really good for the quick attack. Now for the block variation with Suga in there, they work together, they're from the same event. You still get the Karasuno school bonus, and obviously you are a player short here because Hinata doesn't have the playstyle, so now you need two, but it's so easy to go for. Again, I talk about Kura and Tsukishima so much, I feel like you just should have them. And then here, a lot of people are gonna have Hoshimi Hirugami. That's a good way of going about it. And yes, while Hinata doesn't help the playstyle, he does give the school bonus, he does give some good bonds, but he also buffs the front row players if he's in the back, which is really good. So here I would say Kogane is actually really good, but I don't know if a lot of people would want to go for Kogane and Suga, because it's like you're only going to use them in your block team, so is it worth going for 2 units only for 1 block skill? But Kogane is actually really good, so like something like this would be really strong, but you can go for Hirugami, you can go for anybody really. It's fine. So yeah, I think those are the type of teams that, in my opinion, Nishinoya really shines in. For the rest, I feel like Komori is a better option. It's just a safer option, and even for these teams, Komori still works really well. But I do think that for the Karasuno one, especially for the quick attack one, I think it's a bit of a shame if you don't get Nishinoya as well. I think it's a bit of a shame, but yeah, overall, I've said it multiple times, I'll say it again, Komori I think is the safer option for sure, slightly better. Nishinoya, also one thing about Nishinoya is that, listen, he's a Karasuno unit, right? So surely at some point, and listen, we already are so far behind on global, so thinking this far ahead is probably stupid, but surely we're gonna get an SP Tanaka at some point, or an SP Asahi, right? And surely they're gonna have a bond with Nishinoya, at least one of them, right? But having said that, maybe they're just gonna be an SP Libero that's just gonna be much better than Komori or Nishinoya, so you can't really think that far ahead. But yeah, that was it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.